Hello, welcome everyone. I'm Brian and this is Ben. Welcome to Gut Vacation. We're really excited to share with you because there are a lot of people out there, suffering unnecessarily who don't actually know that their health issues are connected to their gut health and what they eat. So our mission is to eliminate unnecessary suffering. And that comes in a lot of forms, right? There's all of these symptoms you might have if you have poor gut health, including, things that like poor sleep and brain fog, which I don't necessarily connect to, what I'm eating. So a lot of people have normalized their health issues, which means you kind of just carry on and put up with them because you don't know anything different or exactly what the root cause might be. So we know you're here because you care about your health and you want to feel better. So we want to make sure this is right for you. So Gut Vacation makes healing your gut and changing your diet fun and empowering. And we'll talk about how we change your diet closer to the end. But before we even introduce ourselves, we want to get into the agenda. We want to make sure this is who this is for. We want to help you make the right decision for you. So there's three types of core people here. We've got some testimonials from past participants as well. And then we're also going to do a little bit on who it's not for. And then if you're still in, then Ben and I will officially introduce ourselves and our personal why stories of why are we doing Gut Vacation. We want to include a bit of education in here as well. So why some health issues keep recurring and how they're not your fault, and what creates inflammation, this thing called leaky gut, and how it actually prevents our healing process. And then we'll end with how the 4-week program actually works. Sound good? All right. So let's dive in. 3 types of people Gut Vacation is for. The first one is really the worst case scenario. We're actually stuck, and you might see yourself a little bit in each of these categories as we tease them out, but you're unable to resolve a recurring health issue. So you see how your health issues, like things like IBS, aren't just affecting your quality of life, but also those you love. And so digestive issues, bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea, autoimmune diseases, psoriasis, arthritis, Crohn's, and many more. We've got a great testimonial from a woman in her 50s. Her name's Susan, considered herself healthy, cared about her health, ate organic. That's actually a lot of us. We're trying to be healthy as best we can. So she couldn't understand why she had chronic heartburn. And she used to be afraid to leave the house because of IBS, which is a lot of people out there, surprisingly. And she used to wake up regularly throughout the night and attributed her terrible sleep to hormones, right? And so she went on Gut Vacation, and before even the end of it, because you get results fairly quickly through the elimination diet, which we'll talk about, she started feeling better. So she tried homeopathic remedies. That was hit or miss. She's at her wit's end. Now she's sleeping through the night, feels safe to leave the house, and literally in front of my eyes, I watched this person become a different person. Just this vibrancy of this human being that gets to shine through when you're not, in distress all the time and sleeping through the night all the time. And now, this end part is what I love the most: self-respect and honoring herself. There's a new level of awareness where she has a new sense of what healthy really feels like and guards it well. All right, Ben. So we've got the high performance type of person, number 2. So they're curious to unlock more potential and freedom. Who else can you speak to this?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will relate to this high performance person. These are people that are on the go, that they're busy. They're just trying to be their very best selves and optimize their health, whether they have an issue that's ongoing or not. So the things that come up with these people are things like brain fog or chronic fatigue. And again, that kind of normalization of being tired. Everyone seems tired. Another one that's come up a lot for these people is like they're dealing with chronic pain, like back pain, knee pain, and they're just kind of dealing with it. And that we've been able to help that person a lot. Someone that comes to mind that I think we would fit in this category is our good friend Tasha. So Tasha's in her mid-30s. She's works in an executive capacity. She's been an athlete her whole life. She's always been strong and fit, and exercise is a normal part of her routine. And she's felt like, a healthy person. I think most people would look at Tasha and say she's a healthy person. Here's what she shared. She already ate pretty clean. And she wasn't really even expecting a lot to change with the program. She thought, well, maybe I'll feel a little healthier. But what happened was this brain fog that she'd been experiencing for like 15 years, which I think she'd even started to take for granted actually lifted for the first time. This was a game changer. In her words, if someone's motivated enough to make a change, and even if it's just for 3 weeks, like with the elimination diet, I think the changes in how they feel would make them want to continue. And this is what we've seen with a lot of people, is once you start to feel better, you go, holy smokes, this is possible. This can be normal. And that's that high performance person that seizes that. And we've had a lot of success with them.
Absolutely. And so the last kind of archetype is the healing journey person. So you're curious about how to heal, support your well-being. And, some of the symptoms that transcend all of these types are also, inability to lose weight, irregular periods, allergies or mood sensitivities, mood imbalances, anxiety, depression, poor sleep again falls into here, right? We just want to get to the root cause of these issues and live life less in reaction, because when you're in reaction, you're not really free, you're not really in control, and you don't really feel good, right? So this is about shifting out of that kind of victim energy into, wow, I actually understand how to help myself feel better. And so we've got Jocelyn. Want to set her up?
Jocelyn. Yeah, Jocelyn, another one of our graduates in her mid-30s. She's both a really talented artist. If you ever get a chance, you might get to see some of her art. She works in administration as her normal job. She also deals with an autoimmune disease. She's had that going on for a long time. And she's been a high-level soccer athlete most of her life. So again, you might look at this person on the outside and go, this is a healthy person. But in her words, Jocelyn had always attributed a lot of her symptoms to things that were happening outside of her, and not necessarily what am I putting in my body that could be affecting my mood.
Super common.
Exhaustion. Yeah, I think a lot of us feel this way. And then she was a person that had like read and researched. She was always trying to keep up with like the latest information on health, this diet, that bit of information. So she said, I read till I'm blue in the face about these superfoods, but until I actually experienced the change from the gut vacation, I was able to embody what I'd always envisioned for myself. So like, she's on this journey. She's always trying to get healthier, but it wasn't until gut vacation that she kind of put some of the missing pieces together and figured out what was happening inside her was a huge factor in some of her health outcomes.
The power of the group is so important for that. Yeah. And so Anona, similarly, in her 20s, struggled with stress and metabolic issues her whole life, tried lots of other diets, as so many of us do, right? But we stay frustrated. And so she actually got to change her relationship with food. And with the elimination diet, you realize, wow, I can actually eat as much as I want of these foods. And so she said it's like meeting yourself for the first time again. And she's the one who helped us discover that this is a discovery program. That's what we call it, self-discovery adventure, because there's this inner curiosity we saw in all of the participants that's like, how does this make me feel? Because we're not saying, you should do this. It's you discovering for yourself what works for you. And so it's never about restriction. It's about optimizing, the highest version of yourself. And then, as she says, actually eating without guilt for the first time in her life. And so those are the 3 types. Maybe you can see yourself in one or several of those. Yeah. Now let's go into, this is not for you.
Yeah, we got to talk about this. We've got to know who this is not for as well.
We want to help you make the right decision for you. So this is not for you if you're coming here with the sole intent to lose weight. So this is not about obsessing over or manipulating your body into a smaller size. This is, thin is not necessarily healthy, right? So our approach to change is inviting you to love yourself as you are at the same time as making the change.
Then we do see anecdotally, we do see a lot of weight loss is very common, but that's not the driving force.
Absolutely. It's a byproduct.
It's a byproduct of being healthier. Totally agree. So then we've got the person that's like kind of obsessed with counting calories or macros. Again, we're trying to stay away from that rigidity and really go about the quality of food and the quality of your health, not just way more or way less.
Similarly, we're not about good versus bad. So we don't demonize certain foods. We don't say cookies are bad. That's not how we operate. So we just take a break. That's the gut vacation. We take a vacation from inflammation, which is foods that promote inflammation or agitate our gut. And that's what you get to experience within this container.
Right. And so this is also not for someone that's looking for like really strict, obsessive rules and to just be told what to do. One of the things we're going to promote is your own autonomy and your discretion in your own body, sometimes called kind of your own personal sovereignty. So if you really want that like obsessive structure and just be told what to do, that's not going to fit here. We're going to develop that inner choice in you instead.
Everything's an invitation because we want to build you trusting in your own body, right?
Yeah.
And so This is not for you if you're into being fake and kind of hiding what's coming up for you. Gut vacation is fun and parts of it can be challenging. We all struggle in our own unique ways. And so we value sharing authentically along the way. And, our mind and our body are connected. So our emotions as well, come up when we stop self-medicating with food. And that's a large part of what we use food for a lot of times. So that's okay. And that's expected. And that's why we have the group.
Absolutely. And then this is not for you if you really just want to take this thing on your own. We know journeying together amplifies your experience. So research has shown, and it's been our personal experience, that working in a group and working in a community gives you leverage and assets and insights and puts you in a totally different position, and can also really help kind of change your perspective on what the problem is in the first place. So if you're really want to do this on your own, and you're hesitant to do this in a bigger community, this might not be for you.
Like Ben, you even got some great insights from some of the group members that gave you insight into changing your relationship with food, it sounded like, as well.
Yeah, I mean, the long story short, I've been telling myself I have a sugar problem for like 20 plus years. I've been a personal trainer for 13 years, and I've always struggled with sugar. And it was the part of the gut vacation for me that I thought would be most daunting. But what I discovered was inside the group, I realized that it wasn't really the sugar that was the challenge, but rather the way I was using sugar to medicate or avoid other emotions or forms of stress that I was dealing with. And when I saw the problem differently, it just totally changed how I was approaching it. And I think that's what we're able to deliver to people. And that's what we are delivering so far.
Absolutely. What's personal is universal. Okay, so if all that sounds good, then we're going to introduce ourselves officially now. Ben, you're going to open, I believe, with your story of your dad.
Yeah. So my name is Ben Johnson. I'm a functional medicine certified health coach. I'm a graduate of the Institute for Functional Medicine's health coaching program. And I love this picture. This is a picture of me and my dad. I'm probably about 3 years old here. And I love this picture because I think it really captures how we felt about each other. My dad passed away 7 years ago, pretty suddenly from colon cancer. He went in for a colonoscopy, standard, and they had a look at his colon, and he got a clean bill of health. He said, everything looks great here. And about a month or two later, he went back to the doctor going, Doc, I'm having some pain. And they took a look, another look, I think it was a biopsy this time. And they said, oh, actually, you've got stage 4 colon cancer. And it was about 45 days later that he passed away, which was devastating. I missed him terribly. He was a really cool guy. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of anger. There was a lot of disappointment for sure. And that's what started me on this journey of understanding gut health, because part of the ways that I wanted to cope with his loss was figuring out, why did this happen? What could I do about it? What could I do about it in my own life so that, A, this doesn't happen to me? And also, as I started to learn about it and kind of go down this rabbit hole of gut health, the human microbiome, the gut-brain axis, autoimmune disease, I started to realize that almost all of my clients, all of my friends, all the people I cared about were dealing with a gut health challenge on some level, where there was early stages, just signs of inflammation, or all the way into full-blown autoimmune disease they were taking medications for and having a big effect on their life. And it was in that pursuit, as I started coaching and dealing with people that were having those challenges, I started to realize how much of the coaching and how much of the healing was also psycho-emotional. It was not just about the things that we had to do, but also how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about food, how we feel about our health. And that's when I knew I wanted to talk to you, Brian, and bring Brian on board. Brian had been actually my coach. I had hired him to do some emotional integration coaching with me as I was going through some of my own struggles and life changes. And I was so impressed with the guy that I knew that I just had to bring him in and kind of complete the puzzle. Right? It's not just what's happening with the food and the lifestyle stuff. There's this other inner element here. So I reached out to Brian, and sure enough, Brian was in Costa Rica doing his thing. And sure enough, I discovered the vibrant friend, Brian, was having his own challenges with gut health.
Yeah, Ben and I had met maybe 5 years previously and then got back in touch. I came back from Costa Rica and I had this fungus, which was changing the pigment of my skin quite rapidly, which scared me enough. So I went to the doctor and they prescribed me antibiotics. But then later, as I educated myself, I found out oh, I can actually starve this fungus just by changing my diet. And so I've always been someone who eats whatever they want, whenever they want. But I stuck to the regimen, and within about 30 days or so, my skin completely cleared. So that just showed me, the power of food to heal again. Hippocrates says, all disease begins in the gut. And so Ben and I were doing our work together, and I was hearing the amazing, testimonies of the people that he was working with doing this one-on-one. And so we definitely saw the power of the group coming together. And we both believe in eliminating unnecessary suffering,
Yes,
right?
we do.
Which was huge. And so we decided to create Gut Vacation because we wanted to bring more fun into this whole experience, right? Um, and so I began eating with purpose. So, what we want to go into next is, why do health issues really keep recurring in the first place? Because, Ben, as you're talking about your dad, you didn't, there was this belief like, I didn't do enough, but versus he actually never had a chance, which is kind of the picture that we want to connect some more dots, because gut health erodes slowly, right? There's this incremental deterioration, and we tend to normalize anything that's common or incremental. So maybe we can go through some of these ways that the odds are stacked against us.
Yeah, it's a big shift in perspective when you start to look at this.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of shame and guilt, but when you start to look at the bigger picture, you realize, like, man, if you are born via C-section, you've got a huge disadvantage in your microbiome. If you've ever had antibiotics, which is like pretty much everybody, a lot of us, multiple times, there's a big risk for gut health and autoimmunity. Just the environment and culture, we'll talk about this a little bit later, in the Western world, creates a lot of challenges to your health. And then,
Productivity trumps health. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, well, we'll talk about that one. The information age and the marketing that we're subjected to puts us in a really bad position to make good choices. And then the unrelenting stress, this is probably the one big factor. We're in this kind of chronic stress moment in human history, and it's having huge, huge effects that are slow to form, and that's challenged our responses. And that's why I think this can creep up on people, and it's so often difficult to identify that what I'm dealing with is, oh, this is a gut issue that I'm having.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so, we wanted to tease out a little bit of the information age and marketing, and just how the odds are stacked against us. So people, they care about your money in the grocery store, not actually you or your health. And so there's what Ben's called the sophisticated capitalist trap. The whole experience of buying food is fatiguing. There's a big push for cheap and tasty. And so just to give you some insight, some of the fun research here, we're like rats in a maze, right? And so products that make the largest profit are at eye level. A product at the end of aisle sells 8 times faster. Candy for impulse buys are at the cash, and we shop counterclockwise. Why? That's the way the stores are designed, because on average, grocery stores make about $2 more per trip. So the packaging and color, so studies showed that transparent packaging increases consumption of small foods, and sales records indicated that a certain color of banana sold better, buttercup versus vibrant yellow. And so banana growers were responded by planting their crops under conditions tailored to produce a certain color of banana. Doubling the size of your shopping cart, that leads shoppers to buy 40% more.
Wow.
We got buzzwords, like organic or gluten-free. And so when given 2 images of an unhealthy food, one containing a buzzword, the majority of participants selected, of course, the version they perceived as healthier, right? And this one, is a little bit disturbing to me. Most mascots for cereals marketed to children look down at an average angle of 96 degrees, right? That's what we're targeting children here. And so the grocery store is a trap. And so we end up getting stuck in this state of stress and inflammation because of the foods we're eating are just constantly agitating us, right, Ben?
Yeah, and that's why we wanted to paint the picture of kind of the rat maze, because we really are, as I learned more about this and I looked at what had happened to my father, it really is a trap. I think trap is an apt word for this. We get stuck there because the food we're eating is constantly agitating our gut, right? And we're being fed foods that are designed to be overconsumed. They're designed to be flashy and enticing, right? So we eat them trying to feel better and deal with the stress and psychological demand. And then that food gives us inflammation. And the inflammation is the physical expression of stress. There we are back at the beginning. So we just end up kind of on this hamster wheel trap where we're stressed. So we eat foods that address the stress because we're offered them, they're shoved in our face. And they even know that if you're stressed, you're more likely to eat food A versus food B, and then the inflammation and so on and so on and so on. And this trap goes on for long enough, and we start to develop pretty severe symptoms.
And that's the self-medication too, right? So I don't feel good and I crave foods that are comfort foods, which tend to aggravate more, right? And so we actually make the problem worse. And so let's describe a little bit about what inflammation is here, because, I've been a thin person and I never thought that I could be like inflamed. And so inflamed doesn't necessarily mean I'm like large, right?
No, certainly not. Inflammation is a normal, healthy physical response. It's the first stage of healing. So in any injury, let's say in this example, we have someone that's kind of bonked their ankle or rolled the ankle. It's normal to have what's called the initiation phase. So inflammation goes on, and that kind of tells the local tissue how to behave. Okay, we're going to do some healing. We've got to do some repair. And then inflammation is supposed to resolve. So inflammation is really just the first stage of a normal, healthy protective mechanism. But because of the trap, because of the cycle that we mentioned here, the stress overwhelm cycle, we get this inflammation response over and over and over again. It never shuts off. The healing never completes. And we just end up in this terrible, inflamed, and exhausted state.
And so leaky gut too, some of the things that are supposed to pass right through us, the gut lining walls start to deteriorate, and some of the things that are supposed to pass right through start to leak a little bit into our body. Our body goes, danger. Yeah. And then it starts this cycle of inflammation that never gets resolved, right?
That's right.
And so it's not our fault, right? We crave foods that actually agitate our gut and make things worse, and we're genuinely doing our best. That's what we see over and over again. So it's not a matter simply of motivation or discipline, which is what a lot of people think, and then they feel bad, right?
Yeah, there's loads of shame in here. I know I felt that myself. Like you want to get healthy, you want to make a change. You go to try something, you struggle and you fail because, again, you're in a much bigger trap than you realized. And then you're like, I suck. It's my fault. I just don't have the motivation. And even the world around us, if you pop on Instagram, it can be very discouraging because it seems like some people are having wild success and I'm not. But again, you're in a trap. When you have chronically high levels of inflammation, it's basically a survival state. Biologically, it's a survival state. When you're in a survival state, there's some changes that occur. So the first thing is you have impaired executive function. You don't think as clearly and as rationally as you normally would. You actually are a lot more emotional. When your cortisol comes up, we retreat from the cerebral cortex back into the amygdala. We get emotional, we get irrational, we act a little bit more like children.
And that's our gut telling our brain as well, right, Ben? That's the gut brain axis telling us it's not safe.
Yeah, 100%. You're getting information as the brain checks in with the body. You're getting information. The brain's going, what's going on down here? The gut's like, man, we're not doing well. So we get stuck in this survival state. And like it says here, despite our best intentions, we end up making the problem worse, because when we go to solve it with a food or, a cig or a drink or whatever the thing might be, we end up just contributing to the inflammation and restarting the cycle. And again, we just can't reiterate this enough. This is not your fault. You're in a sophisticated trap, and we can actually do something about this with perspective and tools. You can break the cycle and get the heck out of here.
And it doesn't take that long, which is what's really exciting, right? Because the body is so resilient. And when given the right kind of environment and resources, it wants to return to homeostasis, right?
Yeah, we've got a heck of an asset. It's easy to underestimate how ready your body is to heal if you just give it a little help. And that's what the elimination diet is for. That's why it was created by the Institute for Functional Medicine. That's why we took that brilliant idea and brought it to you guys as the gut vacation.
And so, Ben, maybe you can fill us in on what the Institute of Functional Medicine is and what exactly the elimination diet is as well.
So the Institute for Functional Medicine is a huge school of medicine out of Chicago. It's a primary form of medicine, as in it's still in the conventional arm of medicine, but it's really focused on pursuing root causes as opposed to just treating symptoms, which we kind of end up doing a lot of or only in a lot of other parts of the medical world. And so the elimination diet is a standard protocol developed by the Institute for Functional Medicine for treating chronic inflammatory disorders, like we talked about earlier. Those can be autoimmune, those can be chronic pain, those can be things like brain fog, depression, anxiety. Those are all in that family. So this is a medical protocol. It's not my idea or Brian's idea. I wish we could take credit. But what we did is we took that protocol and we augmented it. We wanted to deliver it so it could be more fun, a little bit easier to access, and we thought more successful.
Absolutely. And so we provide you with recipes and the vacation food list. So we take a break from foods like milk, sugar, caffeine, some meats. And so those are where we're removing the agitating foods, right, Ben?
Yeah, that's the key. Remember, we've got to break this cycle of inflammation. So if we can interrupt this cycle, we can remove the inflammation. That healing that we talked about can complete. And you can start to feel what it feels like to actually be yourself, healthy, happy, and energized, right?
And so
go ahead.
For the first week, we prepare you to go on the journey. So we don't even change the diet first. And then for the 3 weeks, that's when you're on the elimination diet. A lot of people experience, the hardest time in the first, 1 to 3 days, but also people experience such amazing shifts so quickly too. It just kind of gives your body time to actually take a break. So that's why we call it being on vacation. We don't eat all the same things at the same time. It's up to you how you want to engage. If you want structure, it's there. So we've got the weekly planner, the meal type per day and whatnot. And then we also provide you with some supplements. Would you say to re-inoculate the gut? How does that work?
Yeah, well, we talked about earlier how your gut and microbiome can be damaged. There's a lot of things out there in the environment that are affecting it. So we want to give you a repair kit. So not only are we removing some of the inflammatory factors, right? We're giving you lots of healthy and rich food options. We're just taking out some of the ones that maybe aren't serving you and maybe are even causing damage. And then we're giving you some specific resources. I know some people with supplements, some people are taking a protein, some people are trying a probiotic. We're kind of winging it. Well, this is dialed in, this is specific, and this is a probiotic that creates the exact outcome that we're trying to create, which is a healthier gut lining, a glutamine, a fish oil, all the tools that your body wishes it had all along to complete the healing process. And like Brian said, there's usually some caffeine withdrawals. There's usually a headache or two on the first couple of days, but I'm still astonished. No matter how many times we do this, by day 3, 4, 5, we're hearing people like, man, I just had the best sleep I think I can remember having. Wow, my energy's through the roof. Wow, I just had a great poop. Like it doesn't take long. We're constantly impressed by how willing bodies are to heal. They just get a little help.
And so we do 8 group coaching sessions on Monday and Thursday over the course of the 4 weeks. So that's the group support where we deliver some more of the material. And then we have a 30-day video course as well. So we hold you in the highest light the whole time. And this is it. So we're inviting you. We're giving you a ticket to take off with us to join our wait list. So you can email us to schedule a no obligation consult, because Ben and I want to really make sure that this is the right fit for you and can answer any questions that you have.
Yeah. So maybe at this point you're intrigued. Maybe you got a question. Maybe you're thinking of someone you care about. All that you need to do now is just get in touch with us. Let's have a conversation. Let's see what's going on specifically for you. And if this is a fit, then let's take the next step. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you. See you around.